Hello, this is Ade Olumide, candidate for the mayor of Ottawa. I apologize for having to speak to you this way. This is sort of a hostage video at the request of the debate organizers. I hope this video is not used because the organizers reconsider their decision to exclude me. I was invited for this debate. I accepted. They confirmed my participation, and all of a sudden, out of concern because I'm raising substantial issues that is uncomfortable for their horse in the mayoral race, I'm being excluded, and as well other people, but mainly it's to get rid of the black opinion. And I certainly think that's unethical. I mean, we have organizations receiving funding from the city and then turning around and using that funding to discriminate against the very taxpayers they're getting the funding from. So we'll see where that goes, but there's going to be hell to pay if I'm excluded from this debate. Now, there are four main substantial environmental platforms, which are the reasons why I'm being excluded. Number one, how do we balance climate justice, social justice, racial justice? We should not be sacrificing one for the other. You know, I just watched on television the brave women of Iran fighting for human rights. You have brave men in Russia demonstrating when they know that could lead to death. So here we are in Ottawa, and we're supposedly free, but then you have a few people abusing their power to oppress and suppress other people. So for example, we have a situation where I'm pro-police, I'm pro-military, but there's about 10% or less of the police force that some might describe as bad cops. And this is an issue that disproportionately affects visible minorities, indigenous people, as well female police officers. And so you come up with a transparency bill of rights that the Alberta academic community have put together to sort of address this issue of police misconduct. And, you know, some people want to continue the status quo. So what I'm basically saying is that there are a number of issues playing against each other, and they all should coexist, right? When we talk about income justice, or what you call social justice, you know, I like cycling. My wife likes cycling. My children like cycling. But would I support $250 million on cycling when we don't have we have a wait list to go to a drug treatment center, when our downtown is full of people who are homeless for all sorts of reasons? So we don't have sufficient supportive housing. So how can we leave people on the street so we, the rich, can ride our bikes? These are the sort of moral and ethical questions that I would like to introduce to the debate to ensure that we have a balance. So what we have to do is that we have to have a holistic approach and prioritize. And so we have a certain budget for cycling infrastructure, but certainly not $250 million. And I'll segue into the one of the second issues that I have is that these are substantial issues that you're not going to hear from anyone else. My plan does the best for reducing carbon emissions because I want a situation where nobody has to have a car. I don't care whether you live in a rural area or in an urban area. We're spending $10 billion on the LRT, but we have not done enough to recoup our investment on the LRT. So I've come up with what you call a rural home or urban home shuttle to take you from your house to the LRT. 3P, brand new service, so you don't have to have a car. Now, any plan that talks about it's good to retrofit city buildings and you know, there's all sorts of ideas out there, but that only affects a small minority of buildings owned by the city. We certainly don't have power to influence all the buildings in Ottawa, but we have power to influence the transit decisions of every resident of the city by ensuring that we have a scalable, frequent, well-served transit system. And so that's what I've put on the table, and I have a way to pay for it. And I will say this, I've also proposed a free transit for those who make $53,000 and below. And so one of the issues I raised in the debate which got me into trouble is that I said, why would we be asking the children of the poor, those making 53K and below, why would we be asking the poor to fund the children of the rich? Because if we talk about free transit for everybody who's 18 years and younger, for sure, we're going to have the children of millionaires riding free on the backs of poor people. So this is why I've said I want to see an income equity lens in every decision that council makes, so that we ensure that our decisions are tailored to address the needs of the working class, and to make sure that wherever we have an opportunity, we mitigate. And another example would be, if we have a budget for environmental initiatives, what comes first? Electric cars or free transit for the poor? Obviously, the answer to that question is obvious, because a lot of the poor people don't even have a car. And then we're asking poor people to pay taxes so that millionaires can buy electric cars. These are the sort of issues which no one else is talking about, and I would like to inject in the debate, but for the organizers not letting me participate. These are weighty, substantial issues because it goes to who we are as human beings. It goes to ethics. It goes to morals. Just because a lot of the policies are being made by the sunshine list elite does not mean we should be walking all over people who don't have the rich lawyers to defend themselves, or the rich lobbyists, or they're working two jobs, just trying to pay the bills. And then you have people in City Hall just finding more ways and more ways to make their life more difficult. For example, there was an issue that came up in the debate and said, well, we should charge for garbage bags. And you know what I said? I said, I could support that. If it's in houses for people whose houses are, 1.5 million and over, or 2 million and over, yes, let them pay for garbage bags. But why would you ask a family who can't even afford to pay for competitive sports or any sports for their children to now pay for garbage bags? These are the sort of things that you're only going to hear from me. And that's why I'm being excluded from this debate. So I'll just say this. I think we need a whole new reset about how we operate, how we handle the environmental file, so that we don't alienate people who otherwise support the environmental initiatives. Another example, we have people promising, let's say, about $400 million worth of new spending. This is on top of the OC Transpo deficit. And then we have people saying, well, we can pay for all these environmental initiatives and we're not going to increase your taxes by more than 3%. Again, this is just not credible. Right? Now, I have a platform to say, look, let's freeze all hiring. Okay? Through attrition, we lose X number of people per year. Let's create a department that's called Ottawa Contractors, which would actually break down contracts, a bit similar to the model of the former Consulting and Audit Canada, 25K, 100K and below. Let's remove all the entry barriers so that even people in social housing who are qualified can create new companies and bid for city contracts. So if you've never done a contract with a city before, there's no reason why you can't set up a company and bid for a $25,000 contract, a $10,000 contract. And within 4 years, you'd probably be ready to bid for $1 million contract.